'Cause we're all in this now, but our dreams can come true. Sustain our sound, GRCB needs you. All in this now, but our dreams can come true. Sustain our sound, GRCB needs you. Sustain our sound, make it loud. Help us keep up the fight. GRCB alright. Help us keep up the fight.
Hey, it's Jen and George for our second guitar lesson. Our first lesson we were able to cover 3 of our open chords, in our E chord, our D chord, and our A chord, so all major open chords. Today we're going to continue by learning F, C, G, all open major chords, as well as learning our first minor chord, which is going to be an A minor. We're going to practice some chord changing techniques that will help you make transitions from each of the chords that we're playing, and hopefully we'll take some of the frustration out and get some of that muscle memory kicking in. We're going to play our second song, which is going to be using F, C, A minor, and G, and that's Umbrella by Rihanna. And we're going to talk about what a chord is to kind of wrap everything up. That way, if you're playing with a bass player or keyboard player or another guitar player, trying to work out like a lead line or solo line, you'll be able to figure out what notes are making up that triad and can communicate that effectively to the other members of your band, or work it out on your guitar for yourself. So let's jump in. Let's do a quick refresher of the 3 open chords that we learned in our first lesson together. The first chord we learned was an E major chord, and that involved having our first finger on the first fret of the 3rd string, which is our G string. The second finger, our middle finger, on the 2nd fret of the A, and our 3rd finger, which is our ring finger, on the 2nd fret of the D string. And we're playing all 6 strings. We're playing with the pads of our fingers lightly pressing on the strings, our thumb pointing up to the ceiling. See it back there? Nice, clear notes. From E, we transition to our D chord. So that was putting our first finger on the 3rd string, 2nd fret. So our second finger went on the 1st string, 2nd fret, and our 3rd finger went on the 2nd string, 3rd fret. So high E has your middle finger on the 2nd fret. Your B string has your 3rd finger on the 3rd fret. Your G has the 1st finger on the 2nd fret. We are just playing strings 4, 3, 2, and 1. The 3rd open chord that we learned was an A chord. All of the fingers are on the 2nd fret. So 1st, 2nd, and 3rd finger are on the 4th, 3rd, and 2nd strings. And we're playing from the A string down. So 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Our first chord that we're learning for today's lesson is an F chord. This is a more challenging chord for a beginner guitar player, and I'm going to show you 2 different ways to play this chord, and depending on the type of strings you have on your guitar, the type of guitar you're playing, this may be a really easy chord to play, or it could be really difficult. We're going to start by putting our first finger, our index finger, and we're going to push down on the B and the E strings, and that is going to be a little challenging. So let's try just having that first finger in place. This time we're using the pad of our finger, so not just the tip for the single string, but we're going to put, so that's string 1, string 2, taking it off, string 1, string 2, putting it back on, All right. So that takes some time and practice. If you are using an acoustic guitar, the strings on your guitar may be a little bit heavier if they're the steel strings. If you have nylons, you may find it a little easy. This was one of the hard chords for me because trying to get those two strings on an acoustic guitar when I was first learning how to play, the guitar I was using had really heavy gauge strings on, so it was like almost getting a finger workout. So we want to get those down. And as you could see, I have the dots and the numbers on this one. So we're going to take our second finger and put it on the second fret of the G string. And then our third finger is going on the third fret of the D string. And as you may have noticed, we're not playing the low E or the A. So we're playing strings 4, 3, 2, and 1. This is one you really want to make sure that thumb is up and you're giving some space because it's easy to collapse. And then that's B string typically is the one that's kind of getting muted. And a little bit with that. So make sure that thumb is going straight up to the sky. There are sometimes, some people will, in favor of saving their fingers, they will just use the first finger on the B string and not play that high E. So would just play 4, 3, and 2, and that's okay for now. However, it is hard not to play that high E string. If you were to play that high E, it just alters the chord. Instead of an F chord, it's an F7. And there are applications for it, but you could hear the difference between the two. Some people, particularly if they've been playing for a while, if they learned with power chords or if they started with bar chords, will play a slightly different version where you're putting your index finger, so this is a bar chord, your index finger is going all the way across the first fret. Your second finger is still going on the second fret of the G. Your third finger is going on the third fret of the A, and your fourth finger, your pinky, is going on the third fret of the D. This is another one you want to make sure that thumb behind is going straight up. And this one you'll play all of your strings. So it's a very similar quality. Let's practice playing that F chord, removing our fingers and reforming that chord, just like we did in our first lesson. We will play F for 8 counts, so 2 measures of 4, and then we'll play off, open, for 8 counts, and then we're going to find that F chord again. We're going to go pretty slow, and remember, if strumming on the quarter notes is challenging, especially when you're transitioning back to that chord, just play one time for that whole measure. 5, 6, 7, 8. F, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, off, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, back to F, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, off, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Excellent. That is a tough chord to play, but you are going to get it with extra practice. If you feel like you need to practice forming that chord, pause the video now and go through a few more exercises of finding the F and playing and removing the F chord and playing. The next chord we're going to learn is a C major chord. It involves having your first finger, your index finger, on that B string. Your second finger is going on the second fret up to the D string, so your fourth string. And your third finger, your ring finger, is going to the third fret of the A string. So the shape is very similar to that F, except we're only putting one finger on one string and not barring or doing a mini bar on the B and E. We're shifting our fingers up, which is a little confusing with guitar. Up means up towards the face, even though it's going down in numbers. So we have, I'll show you the number version. First finger on the first fret of the B string, second finger on the second fret of the D. The G has nothing on it. Third finger on the third fret of the A string. We are not playing the low E. We're just playing strings 5 through 1. Let's play them one at a time. And then all together. One more time. Make sure all of those fingers, it's pad only, and your thumb is going up towards the ceiling. 4, 3, 2, 1. All together. Excellent. Let's practice strumming on that C chord and then removing our fingers and then putting them back on. We'll do 8C, 8 off, 8C, 8 off. 5, 6, 7, 8. C, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Ready. Off, off. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Back to C, C. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Back. Off, off. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Awesome. This is another opportunity for you to pause and practice your C shape and getting your fingers on the proper frets. Let's start with our hands set up on our F chord. Remember just the D string down through the high E, so 4, 3, 2, and 1. And we'll play 8 counts on F and 8 counts on C. 5, 6, 7, 8. F, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Ready. C, C, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Back to F, F, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Ready. C, C, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. The next chord we're going to learn is a G chord. There are multiple ways to play the G chord, especially keeping this same shape. I'm going to show you my personal preference, and that is using the second finger on the second fret of the A, third finger on the third fret of the low E, and fourth finger, your pinky, on the third fret of the high E. So the reason I like playing my chord with the second finger, third finger, and fourth finger is it helped me prepare for bar chords by strengthening my second, third, and fourth fingers on the fretboard. Also, early on, there was a song that I was trying to learn how to play, and it involved doing an embellishment on when I was playing a G chord. And that involved putting the index finger down on the first fret of the second string. So I like having that opportunity for embellishment. And I also liked being able to start sliding up into bar chords. So if it is easier for you at this point in time, it is totally fine to play with your first finger on the second fret of the A, your second finger on the third fret of the low E, and your third finger on the third fret of the high E. It will be a little bit easier because your index finger is a stronger finger. So let's practice strumming 8 counts on our G chord, removing our fingers for 8 counts, and finding that G chord again. Play it how it is comfortable for you. 5, 6, 7, 8. G, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Ready, off, off, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Back to G, G, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Ready, off, off, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Now is another opportunity for you to pause and work on finding those notes of your chord. We're going to be taking the last chord that we learned, our C chord, and that's another reason that I like having this shape, which we're going to get to when we do some chord changing techniques, is I can just plant that index finger down on the first fret of the B and then slide my second finger down to the 4th string and my third finger down to the 5th string. Starting in G, we're going to do 8 counts on G, then 8 counts on C. 5, 6, 7, 8. G, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. C, C, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Back to G. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Back to C. C, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Now is another opportunity if you wish to pause and work those chords together. We are going to learn one more chord, and that is a minor chord. It's our first minor, and it is going to be an A minor chord. A minor is played on our 5th, 4th, 3rd, 2nd, and 1st strings. That low E is not getting played. We are taking our first finger and putting it on the 1st fret of the B string, very similar to our C. We are taking our 2nd finger and putting it on the 2nd fret of the D, and our 3rd finger and putting it on the 2nd fret of the G. We're playing the A down, so 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. To give you a little contrast, this is A major, A minor, so listening to the A major versus A minor, can you think about which one sounds maybe happier, which one maybe sounds a little sadder? Is one energetic? Is one scary? Like, are there feels that are going along with it? Is there one that you're gravitating towards the way that it sounds? Minor chords are good to add into your music, and we'll talk about that at a later lesson. So we've just learned 4 new chords: F, C, G, and A minor. We're going to work on some chord changing techniques that may help you get your fingers moving a little bit faster on the fretboard and get the chords to be happening with a little bit less frustration. This was definitely a big challenge for me when I was first learning to play, because my brain knew where I wanted my fingers to be, but my fingers weren't necessarily obeying my thoughts. So the first technique that I like, and I kind of prefaced this when talking about the A minor and C and then that G embellishment, is having an anchor finger. So my index finger is essentially, we're going to start in A minor, is staying on that first fret of the B, while I am moving one finger up to the 3rd fret of the 5th string. Which finger do you think I am moving? My 2nd or 3rd? So the 1st finger is staying put. Another finger is actually staying put as well. So the 3rd finger is going from the 2nd fret of the G to the 3rd fret of the A. C, A minor, C, A minor, C, A minor. Let's talk about some chord changing techniques to help get your fingers moving faster on the fretboard and having smoother chord changes when you're transitioning. One method that I referenced when talking about the C and A minor and F chords is actually having an anchor finger. So in this case, your index finger is staying on the 1st fret of the B string, and we'll do our A minor first. So 2nd finger is on the 2nd fret of the D, 3rd finger is on the 3rd fret of the G. Now the beauty with A minor to C is only one finger needs to move. And I'm going to let you take a second to look to see which finger you think is going to be moving out to the 3rd fret. If you guessed it's your 3rd finger, your ring finger, you're absolutely correct. So that 1st and 2nd finger get to stay exactly where they are for A minor, and your 3rd finger is going from the 2nd fret up to the 3rd fret of the A string. So A, so 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And let's go back to A minor. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. C, A minor. Another anchor option is C to F or F to C, and that is still using your index finger as your anchor. And if we start in our C shape, so we've got our 1st finger on the 1st fret of the B string, our 2nd finger on the 2nd fret of the D, and our 3rd finger on the 3rd fret of the A. Now we're going to use that 1st finger as an anchor, but we're going to press down on both strings and then step our 2nd finger down a string to the 3rd string and step our 3rd finger down a string to the D or the 4th string. So F, keeping that index finger on that B string and working those 2 fingers back up. So let's try going between the C chord and the F chord. We'll do 4 counts of C and 4 counts of F, and we'll do that 2 times. So starting with C, 1, 2, 3, 4. C, 2, 3, 4. F, 2, 3, 4. C, 2, 3, 4. F, 2, 3, 4. Let's go back into our C and let's practice transitioning from C to A minor, just shifting that ring finger from the 2nd to the 3rd fret. So starting in C, 4 counts of C, 4 counts of A minor, 2 times. 1, 2, ready, go. C, 2, 3, 4, A minor, 2, 3, 4, and C, 2, 3, 4, A minor, 2, 3, 4. Excellent. Another chord transition technique that may be helpful to you is a lot of times when we're strumming from the 6th string down to the 1st, so top to bottom. So moving your furthest finger first, so the finger that has the furthest to travel, that's the first finger that moves. So if you were playing a G chord, your 2nd and 3rd fingers, or if you're playing it with your 1st, 2nd, and 3rd fingers, 2 of your fingers have a long distance to travel. So you're going to move your furthest finger first, and for me, that would be my 2nd finger needs to go from the 2nd fret of the 5th string down to the 2nd fret of the 1st string. So this is one of the hardest ones to do, going from G to D, because it is kind of shifting all of our fingers. So getting that 2nd finger, planting it on the high E, index finger and ring finger fall into place. And I'll try it the way with 1st, 2nd, and 3rd fingers. It's still going to be that middle finger having the furthest to travel. So that time it has even further to travel because it's on the E string, the low E string, and it has to get to the high E string. Let's practice going from G to D. 4 counts of G, 4 counts of D, 2 times. 1, 2, ready, G. G, 2, 3, 4, D, 2, 3, 4, G, 2, 3, 4, D, 2, 3, 4. Another option is if you are playing the G in the preference, the style preference that I like, is you can get that 1st finger, that index finger, and place that down to kind of pivot. So if we have our G, we're putting our index finger down on the 2nd fret of the 3rd string and pivoting our fingers down. That's also lending into our last technique that I will go over, which is a top-down approach. So top meaning the lowest string, the 6th string, down. So building it with the string that's going to get hit first. So E, if we're in a G chord, we've got 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Let's get that D starting to build by planting that index finger on the 2nd fret of your 3rd string. That way when it's time to strum, we've got 4, 3, oh, I still got a second to get my ring finger and middle finger. So 4th string, 4th string. Now we got our 1st finger, 3rd finger, 2nd finger. Find what works best for you and use a mixture of these techniques. Sometimes it's just about getting your fingers strong, taking breaks and doing some stretching too. So don't try to figure everything out in like 3 hours and then find that your hands are hurting, your wrist is hurting, your back is hurting. Everything is painful and cramping up. Sometimes just getting some rest, a good night's sleep, helps you to be a better player the next day. Let's talk a little bit about what a chord actually is. That way, if you're trying to create extra like lead lines in your song, if you're playing with a bass player or a keyboard player or another guitar player, you're able to identify the notes that are making up the chord that you are playing. So a chord is also called a triad, and a triad is a group of 3 notes that are making up that chord. When we're playing music, we have sharps and flats, which we're going to touch on just a tiny bit, and we're only going from the letter A through the letter G before starting over again. So note names are going to be A, B, C, D, E, F, G, and then we have options for sharps and flats. So a triad is usually the 1st, 3rd, and 5th of a note. So the first is the root, and that's the actual name of the chord. So if we're playing a C chord, we've got C is 1, D, E is 3, F, G is 5. So C, E, and G are the 3 notes that are making up a C chord. If we are talking about an E chord, E, F, G, A, B. So E, G, and B are the 3 notes in that chord. A G chord, G, A, B, C, D. So G, B, and D are the 3 notes of that chord. So your 1st, your 3rd, and your 5th are the 3 notes making up that triad. When we're getting into like a D chord, that's when we're seeing, like if you've played different types of music, classical music, jazz music, you know your sharps and flats a little bit more. So D is actually a D, E, F sharp, G, A. So D, F sharp, and A. And your A chord is A, B, C sharp, D, E. So A, C sharp, and E. In some of the lessons, we'll talk about like finding the actual notes on the guitar, like fret by fret by fret. For right now, this is just a quick little explanation as to how a chord is made up in hopes of you diving a little bit further in your practice. Let's take those 4 chords that we learned today, F, C, A minor, and G, and incorporate that as well as our A major from lesson 1 into today's song. Today's song is Umbrella by Rihanna. We're going to do another unplugged, plugged in, stripped down version. And the verse and chorus use 3 out of 4 of the same chords. So in the verse, the transition is going to be 4 counts of F, 4 counts of C, 4 counts of E major, 4 counts of A minor. That's going to repeat 2 times, and then we're going to add 1 more F into the end during that because line. The chorus starts out on F, which is great because you're already there for that because transition. And the chorus is going to be F, C, G, and A minor. So we're swapping that E major and G in the chorus. Still doing the 2 times through on 4 counts of each and ending on F before we get to that little like interlude with her A's. So I will put the letters for the chords up on the screen. Do your best to transition through. It is totally fine if you were 3, 4, C, 2, 3, 4, E, 2, 3, 4, A minor, 2, 3, 4. And you can play with strum pattern if you like here. I'm going to keep a very simple strum pattern and just do 1, 2, 3, and 2, 3, 4, and down, 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 up. You can play, we talked a little bit about muting. You could do where you're actually placing your hand or the side of your pick hand to mute those strings over near the bridge. And just be mindful of where we are in progression.
with you I'll always share. Because when the sun shines, we shine together. Know that I'll be here forever, that I'll always be your friend. Took an oath, gonna stick it till the end. Now that it's raining more than ever, know that we still have each other. You can stand under my umbrella, you can stand under my umbrella. Ella, Ella, under my umbrella. Ella, Ella, under my umbrella. Ella, Ella, under my umbrella. Ella, Ella,
So thanks for tuning in today and learning some more open chords with me. Next lessons we'll be covering finger picking, learning some more songs, and getting into power chords. If you have any suggestions or requests, please put them in the comment, and remember to click like and subscribe on the Girls Rock Campaign Boston YouTube channel. See you again. Bye.
because we're all in